The next ones, we'll have ones with that base E. Now we have to figure out how to do base E on our calculators. So, it says the number of bacteria P in a certain population increases according to the following exponential function. 190 E to the 8% T. So 190 is what they started with. It's an exponential growth problem. The 8 is 8% per year, or hour in this case, because I'm doing hours. And so I want to find the amount after 3 hours and after 8 hours. So I'm going to have 190 E, and then in parentheses, I'm going to do 0.08 times 3 hours. Notice there's no caret key or anything in there. Now to get the E on your calculator, you do Shift and the LN button, and that's going to put the E on your calculator. So 190, Shift, LN, and then that behind it in parentheses. So let's try her out. 190, Shift, natural log, puts the E on your calculator screen, in parentheses, 0.08 times 3. Again, there's no caret key, you just put the value in parentheses right behind the E. So on my calculator, I'm coming up with 241.53, so forth and so on. Again, we're going to round it to the nearest gram, so 242 grams. So I started at 190, in 3 hours I'm now up to 242. 8 hours, same thing. I'm going to do 190 E to the 0.08 times 8 hours and figure out my answer. So 190, Shift, natural log to get the E on the calculator screen, parentheses, 0.08 times 8. Close my parenthesis. I get 360.33, so rounding to the nearest gram, 360. So I started at 190, after 3 hours I'm at 242, and after 8 hours I'm at 360. Number 8. Oh, that's a crazy looking one. It says, suppose that the velocity v of t in meters per second of a skydiver falling near the Earth's surface is given by the following exponential function, where t is measured in seconds. 54 times 1 minus e to the negative 0.24 t. So, I want to find the initial velocity. Initial velocity means I haven't started yet. My time is 0. Then I'm going to find the velocity after 5 seconds when my time is 5. So I'm going to have 54, parentheses, 1 minus e. Then keep in mind with our e, the exponent is going to go in parentheses behind that. So negative 0.24 times 0. Close my parenthesis for the e, close my parenthesis for my expression here. So that's what it's going to look like. Again, to do your e, Shift, natural log, gives you the e on your screen. So try it out. 54, parenthesis, 1 minus, Shift, natural log, the e shows up. Right behind the e, in parentheses, we're going to do the exponent. Negative 0.24 times 0. Close my parenthesis for the e, close my parenthesis for my other expression. Equals, hey, I get 0. A skydiver, he hasn't jumped out of the building yet. His velocity is 0. How far did he fall? Well, he hasn't jumped yet. Should be 0. That makes sense, right? So 0 is my first answer. The second one, I'm going to do 54, 1 minus e to the negative 0.24 times 5 seconds, and figure out my answer. So, 54, parenthesis, 1 minus shift natural log to get the E, in parentheses, negative 0.24 times my time of 5, close my parenthesis again. I get 37.73. I'm rounding to the nearest whole number, so 38. So my velocity after 5 seconds is 38 meters per second. Right? I'm falling now. Now just a note, here on this one, I could have done the calculation without my calculator because this times this would have been 0. E to the 0 would have been 1. 1 minus 1 would have been 0. And 54 times 0, still 0. But hey, we got our calculator and we want to know how it works. We get the same answer either way. Number 9. This one has a fraction in it. And although I could probably put the whole thing into my calculator at once, it's probably easier to do it separately. So, again, I'm doing the initial size, which is the size at 0 hours, and then the size after 8 years. So I'm going to have 400 divided by 1 plus 7e to the negative 0.1 times 0.1. Said 1, wrote a t because I was looking up there. 0.1 times 0. What I would do is calculate the bottom first, then do your division. So I'm going to calculate the bottom. 1 plus 7 shift natural log to get the e. 1 plus 7e should show up on your screen, parenthesis, negative 0.1 times 0. Close my parenthesis. I get 8. This would be 0. E to the 0 power is 1. 1 times 7 is 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. Yep. So 400 divided by 8. 400 divided by 8 is 50. So, the initial size of my population is 50. Now I'm going to do the 8. 400, 1 plus 7e to the negative 0.1 times 8. Now this is probably going to give us some crazy decimal, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do with that. So here's what we're going to do. First of all, do the bottom. 1 plus 7, shift natural log to get the e, and in parentheses, negative 0.1 times 8. Close my parenthesis. On my calculator, I'm getting 4.145 dot, 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 dot. Now, I don't want to round that off. What I'm going to do is on the very bottom of your calculator, next to the equals is the answer button. Do not clear your calculator. Leave the 4.14. Type in 400 divided by and hit answer. 400 divided by the previous answer. Then you don't have to type anything in. Equals, and you should get 96.49, so we round that off to say 96. Okay? Now if you did want to use all of this at one time, you'd add an extra set of parentheses. And so you could do this on your calculator and do it all at once. 400 divided by parenthesis 1 plus 7 shift natural log e parenthesis negative 0.1 times 8 parenthesis for the e parenthesis for the denominator of your fraction, and if you hit equals you should get the exact same answer. So if you want to do it all at once, then you need 2 sets of parentheses because you need to group the denominator separately. Otherwise, you need to find the denominator answer first and then take the 400 divided by the answer and get your answer that way. Either way should work.